time for an update video. How you guys doing? I'm actually creating an album right now for Kevin as he's away shooting, and I thought, oh, it's actually a good time to do a little update video on the house and on this TED Talk that I just listened to by one of my favorite authors, Tim Ferriss. And it was about fear, and I was like, oh, it's just the right time for this. So let me give you guys an update. Today we just received a letter from the lender saying that we're good to go. We're in escrow right now, and we have the golden certificate of like yesness. As far as we can tell, it should be smooth sailing as far as going through escrow and sending in just whatever documents they need, and it should be okay. Just last night, Kevin and I are in bed about to go to sleep, and as usual he springs up questions of doubt, questions of fear. Do you love the house? He said, do you love this house? I said, here we go again in my brain. I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, I just want to make sure we're not doing the wrong thing, that we're making the right choice. And this is my dilemma right now. And as I was kind of spending some time alone today, running errands, doing things by myself, I was thinking, you know, hey, my partner is in a really stressful situation right now, I think mentally. There's a lot of fear and anxiety wound up, obviously, because there's a lot of money that's being put in through this house. And last night I lost my patience a little bit, so I just kind of like kept quiet and went to my escape room. My patience is wearing thin, is basically where I felt. And I was like, I always try to find my role, what's my role, because my role in this relationship, as in most marriages, I'm not the breadwinner of this relationship. So to me, when I find ways of asserting my role in my relationship, I try to make sure that I do the supportive things for my husband to make sure that he can continue to be a solid breadwinner for us, right? So just that sort of thing. And I try to make these equalities about our relationship in my mind, like what are my strengths? And I began to question myself because there's so much fear and anxiety in him, and a bit of buyer's remorse, and it will come back in waves. It'll be like, yay, and then yay, and then oh my god, what are we doing? And I was saying to myself, I was like, self, you need to find the strength, the patience, the forgiveness to go through these waves with your husband, because there's so many times, guys, when I feel like that's it, I don't want to have this conversation again. I already said, hey, if look at the numbers, if the numbers look good, like why do we keep going backwards as far as thinking in terms of fear, like is this a good decision, is it not? I'm more in the camp and the perspective and the attitude of, this is what I want, I committed to do it, and that's it. I just push forward. I don't often find myself having buyer's remorse. I just kind of move on with my life. For him, it's hard for him to do that. And I think as a partner, I should and I'm supposed to help him through that, but my patience wears thin. So I began to kind of put this out in the universe. How do I find the patience and the strength when my partner is having such a hard time with this, right? And we are not standing on equal ground as far as what's our stake and investment monetarily, I think, and that's what makes it, maybe that's what makes my anxiety and fear about moving less daunting to me. But I don't know, I feel like I look at our numbers, I look at our progress, and I look at our history as far as our growth and our financial capability to have this house, and it looks good to me. Like we've never stopped growing. And the way that we work, the way that we hustle, and the way that we drive gives me validation to not fear this sort of investment and this step that we're taking. However, he doesn't feel that way. And if he does feel that way, it's a limited amount of time. And then it's back to, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Is this a smart choice? You know, what are the difference between renting and buying? What are the pros of renting and buying? And we got to do this whole thing over again. So I begin to search for these answers of how to provide this sort of strength and support for my partner and not get swept up or fed up with my partner's fear. Lo and behold, because I Google it, I'm like, how to deal with a spouse's buyer's remorse, especially with this house thing. I didn't find anything. I didn't find anything online. It was all about yourself having buyer's remorse and how do you address that. But how do you address your partner and somebody you care about and somebody you're supposed to be patient and forgiving with? And how do you help them through that? You just keep doing the same thing? That seems a little bit like pounding your head against a brick wall. So that brings me to this moment right now, which is listening to TED Talk with Tim Ferriss about, and I'll link it in the description because I think it's pretty good. It's pretty quick, about fear. He is a big follower of Stoicism, and once I heard that, I started to look into it as well. And it's a great tool to use as far as getting your mindset right to addressing fears and anxieties about your life that are based in the future and or the past. Here's what's going to sum up this whole thing and what's going to give me the strength to relay back to Kevin once I hear this complaint again, because I'm going to hear it again. Oh, what are we doing? Is this a smart choice? I'm like, pff. Okay, here it is, okay? We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. That's by Seneca the Younger. So listen to the talk. It's in there. It'll make even more sense if I don't make sense, or it will make sense if I don't make sense. Just watch that thing. So a lot of times we build these things up, these frightful fantasies in our minds when we're about to make a big purchase, or you have anxiety about something or something that you've been putting off, or anything, you know, what if. And I think that's what I'm gonna have to use during this time, because it's like, Lord, give me strength. I'm at my wit's end at how to handle this sort of behavior, because it makes me, it doesn't put me in a loving place. It puts me in a very, if one thing, it'll put me in a fearful place, and it'll put me in a more resentful place. Like, come on, I have to drag you. I have to drag you across the finish line. I don't want that. I want us to be skipping together, you know? That's what I want when we get the keys. I don't really want to deal with buyer's remorse. I want to feel good about it and know that we have a bright future ahead of us because we're here together. We have the proof. We are validated. And so, yeah, so that's what I'm going through right now. I think hearing that and vlogging about it gives me a lot more kind of traction in my mind and in my heart to address this issue. At first I was getting in the weeds of it, in this concept of, oh my God, how do I deal with this person and this attitude about our home? It's supposed to be cool. But for one thing, I understand it. Those fears, those anxieties are validated. I get that. However, how do I really address this? How do I really start to feel like I'm even having an effect as a wife, as a supporting partner, getting through this? And am I right in feeling that way and maybe making this argument to him? So, I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Dealing with a spouse's fear or anxiety. I have my own fears and anxieties, but I feel like I'm better equipped, and I have the tools, and I vlog about stuff, and I write about stuff. So I have more tools at my disposal that I'm more willing to utilize than my partner. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and yeah, that's it. But yay, we are approved. I'll see you next time.